as an actor, I'm not. I actually am not thinking so much about genre or at all. I
Hmm.
mean, I think before a project, I'll go, okay, I guess this is the genre. But when you're on set, I just did a horror movie, and even then, I'm not really thinking like this movie is going to be scary. You're more just like putting yourself in these situations and trying to live them as truthfully as possible. Hello.
Peter, how are you?
Good. How are you?
I'm doing good. Where are
Good.
you at currently?
New York City.
Well, that's nice. Did you guys get some snow? That I'm in Chicago, so I'm guessing that
Oh, no.
we have a delivery for you guys.
Oh, do you? Snow?
Yep.
Um, yeah. Well, I was in Connecticut actually over the weekend,
Uh-huh.
and it snowed there. It was cool.
It's that time of the year, you know.
No snow yet here, even though it is like really cold.
I tell me about it. Well, at least you're inside, keeping warm and talking about a
Oh,
movie. It seems like you're on set, literally, of the film,
oh
in a
yeah,
room. You see the
yeah.
computer in front of you, and we're good.
It really is, isn't it?
Where'd you guys shoot the film? I'm kind of curious because it's like, I mean, it looks like New York in so many ways. So I'm sure there's got to be some exteriors there too, in that sense. But was it all shot in New York? Where was the location mostly?
Was all shot in New York.
Yep.
Jack's apartment was Ben, the filmmaker's apartment in Ridgewood,
Oh,
Queens.
really? Oh,
Yeah.
wow.
And then a lot of the exteriors were in Chinatown,
Mm-hmm.
and Lower East Side. So yeah, it was all New York. We didn't have to go elsewhere to achieve the New York look. We were all just here.
That's familiar for you. How does it kind of feel in a sense shooting in your yard in a way, the familiarity of New York and kind of understanding and being to certain locations.
It feels great. I mean, I'm from New York,
Mm-hmm.
so it would be harder for me to make a New York movie out of New York. I actually did have to do that once and found it bizarre. Um, yeah, no, it's fun. I mean, there's nothing quite like making a movie in New York. A lot of great movies have been made here. A lot of great movies will continue to be made here.
It has like basically the city itself is like characters. You already have self-made. You can't replicate New York on any soundstage or anything. So
That's true.
you got a made in character there, with the city.
That's true.
Tell me how you find you got to read for the part. How did this role kind of come about for you? What was kind of the initial in a courtship maybe they're trying to get you for the lead role, but and also what was your first reaction when you kind of read the script?
I had worked with the producer Oliver David on a
Hmm.
short film that he made, and Ben Hosey, the director of Private Chat, also worked on that movie. Although we didn't really become friends during that film, but I think that when Oliver and Ben were casting the role of Jack, they remembered me, and I don't actually think Ben thought I was going to be right at all because I think he didn't. I think he thought I was like too like I don't think he really believed that I had the like energy that he was looking for.
Interesting.
But then they did send me the script, and I really did love the script. I thought it seemed was an interesting part and a new subject matter that was underexplored in cinema, which is always something that will will appeal to me. And then after I read, I think Ben felt differently and he wanted to cast me, and also had my film that I made called Assholes. There's a scene where I was a little bit like I'm like sort of boyishly excited by something, and Ben really wanted this character Jack, even though he has a somewhat of a cynical, nihilistic, you could say, worldview that all relationships are transactional. I think
Mhm.
Ben very smartly wanted to and did often direct me whenever we could to bring out something giddy and excited and naive, like Jack really is like a boy, a child in an adult's body, and I think that that element is sort of cuts through some of the nihilism in the character. So
It's interesting you mentioned that these sort of movies aren't made often enough. And in our society, like when you know you have things like OnlyFans exploding and these sort of, you know, I mean, just the whole kind of the kink culture that's been around for a long time. It's usually told in like horror stories, you know, kind of online dating, and this sort of stuff is always made into like a horror, but not into a what you guys did in a sense. It's like a satire and it's thrilling. It's got kind of like a different genre, non-horror like, and a romance to it. Tell me about that sort of aspect of it too, because thought it was just interesting, the concept that was done here, that, you know, it doesn't have to be that sort of thing is so, in a sense, we view it as taboo, but it's really common and it happens a lot in society. All that we see kind of in this film. Tell me how you kind of interpret it.
I agree with what you're saying. Um, as an actor, I'm not. I actually am not thinking so much about genre or at all. I
Mm-hmm.
mean, I think for a project, I'll go, okay, I guess this is the genre. But when you're on set, you know, I just did a horror movie, and even then, I'm not really thinking like this movie is going to be scary. You're more just like putting yourself in these situations and trying to live them as truthfully as possible. But to your point, I agree. I think that because let's just say like kink and sex,
Right.
it is for American filmmakers and audiences a harder subject to receive for whatever reason than it is in Europe, where I think there's a lot more movies that remind me of this one.
Mm-hmm.
Not just in Europe, and in although I am thinking mostly of European filmmakers right now. So I think Americans, in order to approach this, sort of need the padding of genre to make it feel acceptable. Like I can explore kinks, but this is really just a horror movie, which like American audiences are fine with. It's like it's almost like if
Right.
sex paired with horror, it goes down easier. But I like this film, and I think it's good for some American films to explore sex and kink without the padding or the sort of.
It doesn't run away from the topic and theme. You know, it's there constantly present. That's what I kind of appreciate about it too, that it addresses it and doesn't mask it behind something else, like you were saying.
Right, and I think that does have something to do with an American squeamishness around
Mm.
sex and nudity, and I think there is a lot of sex positive rhetoric around, and I believe that a lot of people do feel that they are that, but still, American cinema is mostly very prudish.
Totally true. And it's been like for decades, if not even centuries. I mean, you go in Europe in the middle of the day, you can see sex on TV and nudity, and it's not frowned upon. It's just normal, you know. It just kind of people treating it as real life, you know, and not being taboo about it. Did you have to do a deep dive into the kink world and kind of learn? Because I mean, even like with the dialogue here, you know, you need to know certain terms and stuff. Were you familiar with a lot of these things? What was kind of your approach to, you know, doing it justice to it and without sounding like a fool, or you know, to someone who understands that world and sees it like, oh, you know, this is being done in an authentic sort of manner, or at least someone that knows about the topic.
For the gambling part, definitely, I felt that I need Ben really did teach me how to play poker, and a lot of it happened on set. Some of it happened before set, and he was specific about certain words in terms of the camming. Like I had seen cam girls before this movie, like that I knew what that was, and I totally had seen it, and you know that was less hard because it's it's easier to relate to like being even before the internet. I remember having obsessive crushes that never came to fruition, and I think that unrequited love or lust is a it's a very human through line, and so that I didn't really need any
Mm.
training with, but with the gambling, yeah. And it was really fun, actually. I'm not a gambler, I'm happy to say, because I think I would be only losing money, but it was really fun. And part of what I do love about acting is getting to do things that I wouldn't normally do, and sort of it's a little bit like a roller coaster. You safely can experience these intense velocities and drops, and in acting it's similar. Like I can lose a little bit of Ben's money on online gambling, and it's fine because it's for the movie, and I'm not actually becoming a gambling addict. But but it is very fun, and it's very thrilling to gamble online, and as soon as you begin, it becomes abundantly clear how people could lose themselves to this kind of thing. And it's not so dissimilar to the way I sometimes am obsessed with social media. People that I'm interested in on social media, jokes I'm seeing, something I'm posting, or people liking this. I think that's why was a well thought out analog, this thing that gives you a very positive and feedback or very negative feedback and is highly stimulating, similar to the way social media is. And also it's a stand-in for, we're in like a sort of winner take all capitalist society where, it's like interesting, the GameStop.
Yeah, that's a whole rock is that's
A
going
lot
on.
of common people sort of gambling against the establishment. It's not really related. I'm not sure how it will fit in, but there's the gambling is a very evocative theme, and there's a lot of tangential sort of thought paths that it brings up, and I think that was all intentional, and Ben did a good job in choosing that as this character's other preoccupation aside from sex and beautiful women that he has no opportunity of getting. And one other thing, that interesting to say is that I think part of the idea of this guy being into camming is that he's actually not developed enough for a real relationship. And that I think is a thing that many people deal with, and it might be exacerbated by the internet, because you can have these pseudo relationships that make you feel as though you are having a real relationship, but you're not actually developing any of the skills that are required for success in real relationship.
Well said on all those accounts. Completely agree. I mean, it's really thought out stuff there. It's interesting because you have to form a connection with Julia's character, but you guys are seen kind of screen to screen, zooming or through obviously through a computer. That's sort of relationship, and obviously later on there's some of those kind of flashback kind of scenes that you get to see in person. But what was it like working with her, and how did you guys kind of form a connection, even offset, to bring it to kind of make it real on set? It seems like you guys had to really have a genuine connection to make this work.
True. Well, it's not hard when you're working with someone like Julia, who is a fantastic performer and also an incredibly captivating and deep person, and she brings her depth and complexity to the roles she plays. So, when you're working with somebody who maybe doesn't shine as bright as Julia Fox, it's harder to develop the connection. But it was very easy with her because I actually just did want to impress her. I did want to think I was cool, like, in life. So I was pretty easy to do. The truth is, everybody wants to impress Julia Fox. Come on, that's not so hard to play.
And well, it works in perfectly to your character. That's a seamless transition.
Yeah.
Yeah. Before I let you go, I'm one episode into Love Life. Okay, I just got HBO Max recently, so I'm getting into that show. I'm excited about it. I've heard a lot about it, so now I get a chance to see it. What was that experience like? And any tidbits for my watching journey? I know it's 10 episodes. 9 to go for me, but I'm interested to see where the show's going to take me, because I think there's going to be a lot of like real life feelings and experiences that are going to be told through it.
Well, it's interesting. Love Life and Private Chat are both about relationships, people hungering for them, but completely different. Couldn't be more different. I just said this, but I'll say it again. It's just so funny that to talk about these two projects in the same interview, um, it's not funny. It makes sense because they're out at the same time, and that's how discussion works. But if I think about the two guys I play, Jack and
Mhm.
then Jim
Yeah.
in Love, like to me, they're just so different. Like they're people that would never find themselves in the same room or party, and if they did, they would avoid each other. Uh,
Interesting perspective, right?
they for sure would. But Love Life was a great experience, and it's a great program, and I really enjoyed working with everyone there, and it's a little more, I'd say actually more fun in a way than Private Chat, even though love them both. In Private Chat, it was sometimes more painful, the material to
Hmm.
experience, and with Love Life, well, a little bit painful in moments, but mostly fun because the character was like a guy who really is more lighthearted in a way. Well, they're both. Well, I don't know. Scratch that. They're impossible to compare. But Love Life's a totally fun show. I love doing it, and I'm excited for you to watch the rest.
Any potential? I mean, I'm just getting started with the show. Any potential for more seasons or more
They're
episodes?
doing another season. They're doing another season just with a different cast. So
Ah,
you might see us, but also I do not know. Actually,
interesting. Kind
not.
of like that show that they kind
Yeah,
of switch up the
yeah.
cast, but oh, that's cool. That's cool. I'm interested. Hopefully, you make an appearance because that'd be fun to even cross roads and cross paths. Even
I
with
hope
new
so
characters.
too. Yeah, but they are. It's I forget the actor's name, but it's centering on a guy, and they already got him chosen. And yeah, it's gonna be like
Okay,
each season of Love Life will focus on a different protagonist's search for love.
makes sense. You know.
Yeah, makes
Well,
sense.
this was fun. I enjoyed both of your performances. I'm looking forward to more of Love Light, but this was cool. I really liked Ben's kind of direction with this film and what he did, and it's a lot of different themes and topics that touch that we can relate to in a lot of different ways and senses. So I think you did an awesome job, and it's cool. It's cool. I enjoyed it, and looking forward to see more from you.
Thanks, I appreciate it. Thank you so much for the questions and the enthusiastic interest.
Hey, thank you for the thoughtful answers. So, uh,
Yeah.
talk soon then, Peter. Take care.
Bye.
Bye.
See ya.